When Rich Rodriguez talks about being hard edged, it's not just mouth service or lip service. It's something he lives by, and the players are damn sure finding out about that. I've talked to over a dozen. It's insane right now.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby. Welcome back in, guys. We've already had a pretty tough start to the day. As the LSU person in the chat, I didn't ban him, but I muted him for a minute because it was going to distract me if he kept on doing what he was doing in the chat. I will unmute him after the show, though. He's talking baseball in the chat, and I just can't focus on what I want to focus on with him doing that right now. But I do want to congratulate LSU on a win. They were the better team today for sure. But with that said, we do need to move on and talk about this because I'll tell you what, man, I told you guys in the open, Richrod is absolutely capital K killing these kids right now. I went out and talked to as many players as I could, and it's getting absolutely crazy. But before we get there, we got to talk about the sponsor for today, and that's Monarch Money. Right now, with Monarch Money, you can do it big. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your very first year. Make sure you do it not now, but yesterday, or as my uncle would say, yesterday. Yeah, that he doesn't pronounce the A around in Mingo County, bub. All right, so what I did was I was trying to think of a topic, obviously, to talk about and what would be something you guys would be interested in. So I heard somebody, what was it? I heard through somebody else that they had talked to a player and they were talking about how tough things were and this and that. So I reached out, and was like, hey, I heard it was a tough time right now. And he was like, tough time, like basically laughed in my face and said, I've puked 30 times the first day. That's a quote. So that led me to wonder, is everybody feeling the same way? Like, is this happening to everybody? And so what I did is I just went ahead and kept log of all these quotes. And so let's get to them. I've got, I think, 17 here. This is all separate players. Nobody's used twice here. So I'll say their position, and that's all I can say, because obviously, Richrod probably doesn't want their names out here right now and all that, and I get that. So an offensive line told me this. I puked 30 times the first day. That's an intense day, right? And then we had another offensive lineman. He said, I've never been worked so hard at any program I've ever been at. This is next level, dude. So that's a quote. So and I had a quarterback say, nobody was spared. Everybody gets coached. So nobody's immune to Richrod's heat, right? Defensive lineman. The biggest difference with Richrod is he'll coach every single rep and fix it right now, unlike Neil, who didn't want to stop practice to fix something. That's a game changer. A defensive back said, my legs gave out on law school heel. I've never felt pain like that. A running back said, he had us running sprints until we couldn't stand. It was relentless. Defensive back said, I lost count of how many times I had to hit the ground that day. Total exhaustion. Wide receiver said, Richrod yelling at you every play. It's like a ringtone in your head. Oh, man, that's funny. Linebacker. I thought I was in shape until I met Rich Rodriguez, and it humbled me fast. Another running back. We did push-ups in the mud. Just kidding. We didn't do them in the mud, but I've never been so dirty or tired. Defensive lineman said, he made us redo every mistake on the spot. Practice lasted forever. And look, keep in mind, by the way, I'm asking them for the worst here. So it's like, they're not hating this. Like, I have other things in these conversations. Like, all these dudes want this. Like, this is the underlying theme. Like, everybody I talked to, I didn't get, like, this is not necessarily negative, right? This is them putting him on a pedestal saying, like, I've never been worked like this. I've never been crushed like this. So, it's been pretty cool. Here's a positive one. Mike Joseph and Rich Rodriguez both need to be in the Workout Hall of Fame. That's a pretty funny one there. Every rep feels like a battle right now. It's everybody against everybody. Nobody's guaranteed a spot. But yeah, Coach Rod doesn't let up for a second. That's a cramp. Or that's a that's a cramp. That's the next one. That's a quote. Fullback, or I think he's going to be fullback, said, I cramped up so bad one of the days I thought I was going to have to give up, but I kept grinding. So that's and I'm having to sometimes summarize some of these. So, they're not, because, some of these quotes aren't as good as I wanted them to be. So I had to summarize them up a little bit. I had a tight end talk about how it's been pretty hot here the last few days, and that's been hard, especially when they got to hit law school heel. I got a lot of law school heel talk. Another guy said, my hands are blistered from the weights. Never worked like this. And this is I think a freshman, so coming out of high school. So that makes sense. But my takeaways are this. We've heard Richrod, we hear this hard-edged motto get thrown out a lot, and to the point to where he said 30 times. I don't know if it's legit or not. Let me see. I can show it. Let me just see if I can. I can just, as I'm sure people will probably want to say, let me see if I can. Hold on a second. All right. Let me see. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you guys waiting looking for this, but I do have a quote right here. Let's see. Well, I better not, because it's going to be too hard for me to. It's going to be too hard for me to show this and cover up the name at the same time, right? So it's like, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So yes, 30 times in one day. So I don't know if that's an exaggeration or not, to be honest. I don't know, but let's see. I want to show you guys so bad, but at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. So, but I do have takeaways for this, right? And I think number one, the players are embracing the hard edge mentality, right? Because Richrod's all about instilling a hard edge. We know that. A relentless, and what is hard edge? It's a relentless blue collar toughness that mirrors West Virginia roots. And he's even on record saying it means being mentally and physically tougher than anyone we face, right? That's a Richrod quote. And players who can't handle that won't stick around. This is not just talk. It's the backbone of every drill, every rep, pushing the team to outlast and outgrind opponents. That's the goal for this. Like, when you don't always match up in talent at every position, we're going to be pretty close, though. But when you don't always, sometimes you've got to be in better shape, right? And you can outwork people. There's going to be no room for softness, no cushy workouts, and Richrod is going to be rejecting any hint of soft play. He's made it very clear that mental and physical toughness is non-negotiable. And he calls out behaviors like lack of aggression, and he says they're deal breakers. And I think this season you can expect a squad that's going to be battle tested and not pampered, right? Think about that team last year at Jacksonville State that started at 0-3. You think they could have quit? That's a mentally tough team. To start out 0-3 and win your conference championship, that's, to me, very impressive. Now, that's not how you want to do it, because you got to win eight or nine in a row. I think they won eight in a row, but and the thing is they had the tougher part of their schedule is what they won in. So just a total flip from what we ever seen with Neil Brown. Like, usually if it was bad, it didn't get better. It's like there was no improvement. I don't know. So here's a big one. And I think, I kind of alluded to it in some of the other takeaways, but I think sifting through the week, right? This basically, this hard edge process is nothing but a filter, right? His workouts are going to be designed to weed out those who can't keep up. Players have said that the relentless pace and immediate corrections are big deals. And he said himself that it's about finding athletes who can handle the grind. And those who don't are going to be left behind. And what about the real time coaching, man? Like I said, focusing on every rep on the spot is, it's smart. It's not just tough, in my opinion. It builds a team that adapts under pressure, turns mistakes into lessons, instantly, not later down the line, not in the next practice, not in the next game. You've got to be able to mend things on the go. And I think that's exactly the kind of teams Richrod has always had. Think about that. We've always had smart football teams too. I don't, we always get, it's like Bob Huggins, right? You always heard how tough Bob Huggins teams were. We had some smart teams too under Bob Huggins. We did. That Final Four team we had was very smart. When Joe Mazzulla was playing guard, he played really smart. When Mike Gansey was playing for Beeline, he played smart. So, I think that this gets overlooked with Richrod because he's got this good old country vibe, but he created an offense that is used by even the NFL now, right? So, or he was at least partially responsible for it. I mean, sure, did guys like Urban Meyer and other people take it and grow it too? Yeah. But, at the end of the day, I think that we don't get enough credit with Richrod for being smart. So physical and mental conditioning will be used as a weapon. Fast tempo, grueling games, obviously sprints are going to be a big deal. Push-ups are going to be a big deal. Obviously, any kind of cardio going to be a big deal with Richrod. And I think this philosophy, is tied to, making sure you're the most physically dominant team, obviously. So forging mental toughness under fire, team unity through the shared struggle is another big one that I have written down here because everybody's getting coached and nobody's getting spared, right? Nobody's spared. Not one person, not even the coaches. He even coaches the coaches. Richrod's so addicted to coaching, he even coaches the coaches. The grind is bonded. Yeah, listen, if you've been in the military, raise your hand, right? That shared bond that you have with your brothers in boot camp, just not even outside of that, but even in boot camp, there's a shared kinship with everybody, right? Because you're going through this crazy, wild time together. I can 1000% relate to that. Oscar Martinez, I told the story, right? We were on the way back from the rifle range. He was too afraid to ask a drill instructor to go pee. So he just pulled it out and started peeing. Unfortunately, on rifle humps, there are female officers, there are male officers, and a female officer was checking cover and alignment and saw his wiener. Do you think we were taken out to a steak dinner after that? No, we all got absolutely destroyed, all the way down to me getting first degree chemical burns on my feet as a result because they were pouring Dawn detergent on our stuff every single day for a week. And I put a pair of those wool socks on that had the Dawn detergent in it. And the chemicals of the Dawn meshed with my sweat over the course of like whatever 16-hour day we did in boot camp. Cause you wake up at like 6 a.m. and you don't come back until dark. It caused my skin to just peel off with the sock. It was absolutely one of the most painful things I've ever gone through. But all my buddies understood what I was going through. We all had different bumps and bruises. I had my nose broken with the buttstock of a rifle, right? They're like, you even though that's abuse, I know now that's abuse and shouldn't have happened to me, but that's another story for another time. Um, like I wasn't the only person that was happening to. So you kind of find a common bond, like, and the thing is like we had these drill instructors, we loved them for the most part, right? Like we were united through them and like we were motivated by them and we all marched to the beat of the same drum. It was awesome. So football is very much like that. And I think that Richrod is going to forge this mental toughness under fire, that really underrated part of what he does. So there's a team unity through the shared struggle. And what about the lesson from Michigan? I think Drumwolf mentioned it earlier in the chat. One major reason Richrod didn't succeed at Michigan was the hard edge coaching message clashed with the program's traditional culture, right? 5-star guys are there. They don't necessarily have to be there because they're not walk ons. They're not 3-star guys that are on the borderline of G5 and Power 5. So his relentless approach met resistance from players and boosters expecting a Michigan man style. Well, that philosophy works in damn West Virginia. It's embraced in West Virginia. And so Rich Rod is rebuilding the West Virginia Mountaineers with fire and coal, baby, fire and steel. And they're not here to be soft. We're crafting a hard edge, sifting through the weak mentality, gearing up for next season where toughness is going to reign supreme. And obviously, I would like to know from you guys, what do you think that means for West Virginia's future? Do you think that the shared destruction of everybody through Rich Rod and his preaching, if you will, of hard edge is going to create a team that like we had in 2007, 2006? Would love to know below, guys. Let's go to break really quick. Would love to talk a little bit more about some players that I haven't showed you yet. Josh Isosa transfers in from Oklahoma. John Lewis transfers in from Mississippi State. I was just talking to him, and he was supposed. Yeah, I got it. John Lewis got some new clips from John Lewis. I'm excited about it. We're going to watch those next. Stick around. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by none other than Monarch Money. When it comes to Monarch Money, we do it big because, listen, you got to be understanding when it comes to finances. And between dining out and online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and credit over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track your accounts, investments, and spending all in one easy, convenient place. And if you want to stop managing your money and start building your wealth, do it now and do it yesterday. Because when I started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I was spending on DoorDash. You guys know this, Uber Eats. Now I budget smarter and save more. And if you want to take control of your finances like me with Monarch Money, you can use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your very first year. It's segment 2. Let's crack this baby, and get into some highlights, man. I'm excited now. John Lewis has traveled one hell of a road to get to Morgantown. And I want to show you guys on his X page a couple things. So, these are messages first. Well, let's look at those second, because I want to show you guys a clip to preface these from his X page. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So I want to show you guys a couple of clips from John Lewis just to let you meet John Lewis, right? As I was sifting through this stuff today, I was totally shocked at one of the hits that I seen him do. Get ready to meet John Lewis in HD. He's coming straight into your house to wreck your life. Get ready. This is one hell of a hit. Are you watching? Okay.
Yeah, Malaria 156. Oh, my goodness.
Meet John Lewis. What a hit. Holy shit, dude. So, and a great time blitz here by John Lewis, as I think he comes straight to this is what we call, well, this is right through the A gap, right? And I mean, no, it's not. He came off the edge. I was looking at the guy in the middle. So he came right off the edge. Nobody even blocked him. He just replaces the pulling guard and absolutely wrecks this kid. Boom. And you don't want to know what's crazy? It's not the only time on his profile that he has this. When he was in high school, he did a similar thing. And it's right here. Here he is again, same exact position. Boom! Does that not remind you of Jadeveon Clowney versus Michigan? That's exactly what I thought of when I saw this. This is a big hitter, man. Boom! Good night, sweetheart. So now let's get to the tail of the tape where we have some clips. Thank you to John Lewis for sending these in, man. Hopefully I do you justice by looking at them. And if they're anything like that, we're going to be very excited. So here is some practice clips it would look like. So hard to see on that one a little bit, but I believe he was number 8 right here. So yeah, so here he is right here. And if this is too grainy, I apologize. So as you can see, he engages with a blocker right here, sheds that block, fills the gap, and makes a tackle. Very nicely done there.
Can they get that?
This is the hit, I believe. No, it's not. No, this is just a play in a game. So as you can see, this is him right here playing in the off backer spot. So you can see he engages the guard, or is that the tackle? No, that's the guard. Engages the guard, sheds him, sheds a guy coming off a double team to work up to meet with him, and gets into that gap and makes a really nice play. I love that. Some of these are a little iffy because they're on the SEC network. I'm not sure exactly if it'll so here we got another one. This is on punt
in 2022, and that was
blocked by John Lewis. Nicely done. Is he off the edge, or is that him through the middle? Yeah, that's him through the middle right here. So this is him right here. Engages with the blocker, gets his hand up, and makes an excellent play on the ball. Excellent job there, man. So, what do we got here? And I, let me see if I can go back to his profile here. Will it take you with me? Yeah. Okay. So, he's got other plays on here, and they're not necessarily from right now, but like here's another one from high school. I'm guessing from high school. Oops. So here he is here on the outside edge. And one thing I know about Lewis from some of the stuff I've seen out of him, he can really run. And look at that power too. He got his hand on the jersey and just ripped the guy down. We'll take that. I think, he's a really underrated player on this year's team for sure. Those are crazy jersey colors. So here he is right here. Number 1. And look at the length. Look at the arm length. Look at the size. He's a big dude. Definitely physically imposing. Oh yeah, this is that play again. So very, very nicely done. Obviously would like to have a little bit more on him. Here he is running track. Crazy. So but yeah, John Lewis is a guy that, well, here's some stuff. Let's see what we can see here. Is this all the same play? Oh, this is that play again. Okay. So I'm sure it's been shared a bunch online and on TikTok and stuff, but he's a name that, we got him in, and he's a senior. He's played a ton of ball. He's played at a few different places. I believe UNLV, Mississippi State. He's been really productive wherever he's been, and he's a senior. And the thing is, he's got a pedigree, and he was a 4-star guy coming out. So I think you tap into that. You see the athleticism's there. You see the big hitting is there. You see as a senior, he's got to have a lot of experience, obviously. And another thing about John Lewis is, in my opinion, something that may not be talked about a lot. If you go look at Pro Football Focus and look at his coverage grades, they're excellent. Capital E, excellent. Very good coverage linebacker. So I think, he's a guy that's going to come in and absolutely battle for a starting job. I think, Chase Wilson, in my opinion, is a guy that's got one of those jobs. And, the other guy is wide open, in my opinion. I don't know, if it's going to be a Ben Bogle. Is it going to be a John Lewis? I think, any of these guys have the potential to be really good football players for West Virginia. And I certainly have confidence in Lewis. And here's the thing, too, about him. They would have brought him in if he didn't have a hard edge. That's just flat out the truth, man. So we have 6 SEC players across our lines this year. That's right. So very, very thankful for John, and I'll get with him after this, and we will try to get some more of his film, because I know he's got more. He said he had some in another phone, So, I didn't ask John. John, if you're watching, man, let me know in my comments how grueling have the workouts been, man. That's what this episode was about. I would love to know. Let's go to break really quick. When we come back, Josh Isosa, SEC offensive lineman. How good is he? We'll talk about it next. All right, guys, we are back here. This is Locked On West Virginia. We're in segment 3. Thank you guys for joining in, by the way. Don't forget to like the video before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We're this close to 5,000. And I would love to hear from you about today's episode. How does that make you feel knowing that everybody's getting coached hard very equally? Looks like I didn't change. Sorry about that, guys. Richrod in the building with that hard edge and more dogs. So here we go. Let's get to Josh Isosa, a guy that, a lot of people are excited about. Certainly a little young, right? He was a freshman last year at Oklahoma, and now he's a redshirt freshman. But if you want to talk about an enormous refrigerator of a man, you don't go to a blue blood like this unless you're a really good player. You just don't. It's just the way it is, right? I'm assuming this is him as a little kid.
Oklahoma is my favorite.
Oh my God. Is this him as a little kid? No way. Who is this? I have to know now. I know. Somebody please tell me, is this Josh Isosa when he was a little kid saying he wanted to go to Oklahoma?
Oklahoma is my favorite. Oklahoma is my favorite. Oklahoma is my favorite.
What would you guys do if I just left it on there for the rest of the show for like 20 minutes? All right, so that was funny to me. Maybe I'm probably the only one that's laughing. Let's check out some Isosa here. And here's the thing. Not a lot of Oklahoma footage. Obviously, he's a redshirt freshman there. Very likely didn't play a bunch. And I'm sure he's got some practice footage. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you his game tape, right? He's got some of that here. And from what I've seen on here, very impressive player. Let's get to it. So 6'5", 300 pounds. Pretty impressive. This says junior year. See if we can't find that senior year. Let's try right here. So here he is. You can tell it's him, can't you? Look how big he is over at the right tackle spot. Very nice. Very nice size on the guy. So let me get back and see that again. So, okay, where's the ball going? All right. Nice play. So definitely pancaked his guy. Definitely finished the block. Here he is again over on the right side again. On a double team, and then he just manhandles that kid, obviously. Nicely done there. Okay, here he is. Very quick out of his stance, right? Pretty quick out of his stance. Watch how quick he gets up. Boom. He's on it. He's so much bigger than everybody he's playing against. Where did he play high school ball at? Here he is again. I mean, just the size differential is insane here. But, I mean, obviously, this kid had no chance against him. Here he is again. Yeah, just dominating kids. Love to see where he played high school ball at, just out of curiosity. There he is again with a nice pancake block. So he played right tackle, at least seems like exclusively in high school. Here he is. So, I can see why he had a redshirt year, though. Like, technique-wise, hand placement's not great, obviously. I would also say that leverage-wise, he's definitely standing up a bit too much. In high school, though, he's probably already fixed this. I would very, very likely say, this is probably 2 years ago, if not more. So he's probably fixed this by now for sure. So that's the problem with doing this. It's like I could talk about this and we can see some things that are very positive about Josh, but things he's already fixed, I could be critiquing when he's already fixed them. That's why I don't like to look at high school tape if it's a portal player. Because I don't know. I mean, he's a little, obviously on these blocks, leverage wise, he's a little high, So, and here's the thing is look how much bigger he is. I have to know, where did he play ball at? Because Josh Isosa High School. We'll find out really quick. So looks like he's from Oklahoma. Um, yeah. So Edmond, Oklahoma. That makes sense and that tracks. So let's see who all he had offers from. I'm just curious. Okay, that tracks. That makes a little more sense now. It looks like, guys, looks like Oklahoma maybe took a bit of a chance on Josh coming out, just a little. UTSA, you had Arkansas, Central Arkansas, North Texas, Sam Houston, Navy, Army, Tulsa, Eastern Michigan. Looks like he had an Iowa State offer. So there's a power offer, but then he had the Oklahoma offer, and obviously you're going to take that. So he took the Oklahoma offer, and seems to have really made himself better in college, obviously. But so not highly recruited. Looked like he was rated right around a 86, which is a fairly middling 3-star. Not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying where he was recruited at. I don't. You guys know recruiting rankings to me mean a little. I mean, obviously, it gives you a baseline, but players like Josh, who are in Edmond, Oklahoma, while they may get some analysis for sure, 3-star players, almost all of them get evaluated, but not always. So, we've seen it multiple times. What happened when Braden Hawthorne decommitted from West Virginia and went to Kentucky? He moved up 76 spots in the rankings. It's not because he got much better. I mean, he was already very, 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 very good. Like that's not a slight against him. It's the point is, it's a known fact. And I don't know, maybe some of you guys don't believe this, but it's a very well known fact that recruiting rankings are highly, highly influenced about where they go to school. And a lot of people think it's a racket between the SEC, Big Ten, and college, maybe not college football as a whole, but the NCAA kind of, TV partners, that kind of thing. Like, obviously, if the SEC has all the highest rated players, then they have the highest rated recruiting classes, then they have higher ranked teams, and they kind of control college football in a lot of ways. But I mean, on the field, it's pretty obvious that they do have better players. So, that's one argument against what I'm saying, but overall, that is true. If a player decommits from, let's say, West Virginia and goes to Ohio State, he's going to jump up in the rankings, because other people who never heard of that player are evaluating him now. Every single player on Ohio State's roster has been evaluated by 50 people, at least, right? As to where West Virginia brought in, well, I mean, we could even say somebody like William Davis from Virginia Union. How many people you think evaluated him out of high school? Not very many. How many people you think evaluated him in the portal? Here's another good example. We talked about this with two of West Virginia's players, but Darren Lewis was a safety in On3 and 247's report when they evaluated him coming from Akron. He's never played safety. Or I'm sorry, the opposite. He was he was a corner, and he's never played corner in years. So he's a safety, So like they didn't even have that fact correct. Do you think I want to trust what they ranked him? No, I don't. Which is why, I have a problem with recruiting rankings for the most part. But I do know, I'm not saying they're all wrong at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when it comes to the middle and below, there's just too many players for everybody to evaluate. It's just not possible. So, if you stopped looking at this right now and never watched another Josh Isosa clip, you would probably come away thinking that he is a very big player that's raw, that has a lot of potential. But what is he now, right? Like, what did he grow into a year from then? I don't know. And so for me, it's like you got to keep up with players. You got to see if they improve. You got to see if they regress and all that. And it doesn't always happen. Rant over, I think. So that's a pretty nice play. He seems to get stood up and bent a lot though. He's just much too high on some of these, but um, I'm sure that he just fixed this. I highly doubt that he didn't. When you're as big as he is, too, you're facing everybody you're facing is down to your chest. So it's hard to get under somebody when you're bigger than they are like that, so much bigger. But Isosa, I would love to see some newer highlights of him. We just don't have that right now. So I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm going to just assume that, like always, West Virginia's coaching staff is really good. I have a lot of faith in it. I have a lot of faith in Coach McNell. I have a billion% faith in Rich Rodriguez when it comes to evaluating because we've literally seen it 1,000 times. You want to talk about him? We can bring him up. Cam Vaughn, quarterback in high school, will be the best receiver on our team this year and was last year on Jacksonville State. We know about Pat White. We know about Steve Slayton. He was going to be recruited for something else and ended up coming to West Virginia. And just all these things are they matter in the grand scheme. So really excited about, for the most part, everybody we brought in. I mean, I thought about doing players I'm not very sure about video, but I hate being so negative, guys. And I hate talking about these kids like that before they've ever played. I would like to wait until at least the summer before I do that. So I'm going to wait until, we get a few Richrod press conferences and all that, because at least what I'm expecting, I don't know for sure, but I'm hoping the Richrod opens up in some of these press conferences now that the portal is supposed to be, it's closed right outside of graduate transfers. So, that means we'll finally start to be able to get some praise and concern and all that. Like, because in the past, he was, you go back and look at his press conferences 20 years ago or whatever. He didn't care about talking about any specific player for the most part. So that will make the press conferences a lot better if we can do that. Other than that, guys, I don't have a whole lot else for you. I know it sucks the baseball team lost. There's always tomorrow. It's going to be tough against LSU for sure, because once we get into our bullpen, it just gets really iffy. And they've got multiple major league players on that roster. Two of them are going to be pitchers. One's going to be the number 1 overall pick. We just heard him say that earlier. So, and I can see why, even though we got to him a little bit, we've got to hope that Jack can come in tomorrow and, pull off a Carsonas special, because he's got electric stuff, right? Jack Carsonas can get up to 95, 96 on the gun. He can move it around the plate. So, I'm really excited to see what he does tomorrow up against Ianson, who is a very good player. All right, guys, that's all I got. We will talk to you later if something happens today, which, with that settlement, by the way, the house settlement, I'm really hoping and expecting something big to happen. Like, we had the Rim Baker announcement. I thought about covering that. I meant to do it already, which it was just a little thing saying we're going to be competitive. But I have some thoughts about our roster now that this is approved. I think maybe the basketball team was waiting on this to happen so that we could get some more freedom to pick up a couple of players. At least that's what I'm hoping. We'll see, though. I mean, the coming days will tell us the truth. Other than that, guys, I don't have much else for you, and I'll see you later. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia the first listen of your day, and for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team every single day. Check out the Portal Show next. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. You can be the most informed fan on the rapid changes in the college football landscape today. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, and I'll see you then, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. This episode's over, and I'm out.